Hey there friends, Dan here, and welcome to GRC Talks, a side series where I'm getting to discuss some other topics that didn't make it into my main series reflections. And today I want to talk about a really cool topic in my eyes, and that's Mario's movement. And so we're going to look at the first few Mario games, and I just want to kind of like map out from day one, Super Mario Bros., all the way to Super Mario World and 6 Golden Coins, over this first generation of Mario's existence, kind of looking at how the developers at Nintendo, how Miyamoto and his team really created something special with Mario. Because if you've played Mario before, well, if you're watching this video, you probably are a Mario fan, and you saw Mario, you're like, oh, I want to watch that. You've probably at some point been like, man, sometimes in this game, it's just fun just to jump around. If you've played Mario 64 and you've jumped around the original area time and time again outside of the castle, and you're just like, it's fun to move around as Mario. And they make it seem so easy, but in all honesty, I'm not a game developer. I'm just a enjoyer of video games and a lover of life. But I really can imagine that it's not actually easy at all to do that. You look at so many platformers out there, so many games in general that don't really get movement right, and it's just. There are some small best practices that really go a long way in separating the boys from the men in the game industry. And Mario is the one who's been setting the standard all along. And so, I'm not here to discuss like the deep nitty gritty of it, but I'm just making some observations from the beginning and looking at kind of how Mario's movement has evolved over the years. And so, looking back at the original Super Mario Bros., as I was playing that for this channel, I didn't grow up playing Super Mario Bros. I grew up playing Super Mario World, and, I was a 90s kid, so it was a little bit before my time. And so actually going back and playing the original Super Mario Bros., the things that I noticed were that, first of all, it was incredibly refined even for the time. It's like playing the original Halo now that so many other Halos are out. It's like you go back and play it, and it's like, yeah, some things are wooden. Mario's a little stiff in his movements. It's a lot more unforgiving. But, man, they had it nailed down from the very beginning. And I think the biggest thing that really translates over to a fun experience in my eyes is the responsiveness of Mario's movement. He does everything that you want him to do, except maybe, changing his trajectory in midair. That was one thing I noticed is like in Super Mario World and Mario Bros. 3 and the newer games, it's like you can do this like little like loop-de-loop thing in air and jump from underneath a platform onto that platform. And that's really not nearly as doable in the original one. But that adds to the difficulty. But honestly, the basics were all there. The game functions pretty much exactly like you want it to. And one of the most fun things that I found about it is that, yeah, it's responsive, and his actions have a real sense of momentum and rhythm to them. That like, you start walking and you're going slow, but then you hold down the run button and then he slowly speeds up, and then you feel like you're really moving, right? And then between the run and the jump and hitting those platforms at the exact right time, I felt like I had a real sense of like, man, I'm in a rhythm. I'm in the zone, And I feel like that's when Mario is at its best, when those individual systems are working together in synergy to just create a fun time. And so that was where we started. But it was incredibly simple, and like I said, it was kind of wooden. The standard was pretty much non-existent before that for platformers. And so Mario set the standard and pretty much said, you know what? This is how you move, jump, and defeat enemies in a platformer, right? And so what comes next? If you've seen my videos on Super Mario Bros. 2 and 3, you know that the next steps from Mario were pretty strange. And so in Japan, the Lost Levels was released, and it pretty much was the exact same as the original. It added Luigi in there, and which was a cool addition. It was cool that from the very get-go almost we have two completely unique characters with different physics. Luigi could jump higher, but he was also more slippery in his run, and so was a little bit more of a liability than Mario in some sections, but was really cool. When I played through the Lost Levels on the show, I actually on my stream I actually played through as Luigi, and it was a different experience. I enjoyed it. And so with Super Mario Bros. 2 though, that came out in the West, If you're familiar with the story, there's a really great video that I recommend from the gaming historian where he goes through kind of the history of Super Mario Bros. 2 and how it was originally a game called Doki Doki Panic. That was a Japan exclusive, and that it was brought over here and rebranded as Mario Bros. 2, which is why you're pulling turnips out of the ground. You're standing on top of Shy Guys and picking them up, like it's completely different. But it added so much to the series. And in terms of Mario's movement, really one of the things that it added was that it felt like things had been tightened up. So like one of the first things I noticed, and especially after playing the original Mario Bros, is that this game, you can do a lot of those more intricate movements in midair. Whenever you jump, you have a lot more freedom of your movement capabilities. Mario doesn't take as long to speed up, and he doesn't feel as stiff. And so that's really nice because this game has a lot more intricate level design, and so you're able to just do a lot more. But then there's also 4 playable characters. So Peach floats but doesn't jump as high. Luigi has his flutter jump that just like in the Lost Levels. And then Toad doesn't jump high at all, but he's really fast. And so you have these options available, and it felt like Mario's movement was really being expanded in some cool ways. But again, this was kind of outside the scope of what would be the tried and true Mario formula. The Super Mario Bros. 2 was an experiment, and some of those elements would be brought into the next games, but it wasn't really until Super Mario Bros. 3 that we started to see those elements from Super Mario Bros. 2 getting applied to, what we know is like, hey, this is a Mario game. This is more familiar. And so Mario Bros. 3 brought in a lot of those things. So for instance, in Mario Bros. 2, one of the biggest things that is iconic about it is grabbing and throwing enemies. And so you are standing on top of enemies, you're grabbing them, you're throwing them to defeat other things. And that was something that if you've played Mario, you know that you can jump on a Koopa and then get their shell and kick it. And that's something that actually wasn't in the original game, the original one on the NES. And in Mario Bros. 3, they took that, I'm guessing, I don't know this totally confirmed. If you do, write it in the comments below. I don't know if this is totally the case, but it really seems like they looked at Mario Bros. 2 and they were like, that'd be cool if you could, grab items and throw them. And so they did that in that game. And they also brought Mario Bros. 2's more tight controls. Now in a normal Mario game, you could go left. In the first one, you couldn't even scroll the screen left at all. And so it's like a lot of these elements that they experimented with in the second game were now brought to the main series. And not that Mario Bros. 2 isn't main series, but you know what I mean. Just the tried and true, Mario formula. And so it's really cool to see that. And then also Mario Bros. 3 brought the Tanuki suit that kind of brought Peach's hover mechanics a little bit to Mario 3. We got to see some of those, like get an item and it helps you kind of have some more time to make decisions in the air type thing. It also gives you a melee attack, and so it gives you more options, whereas in the first game it's like, nope, you have a small jump and then you can jump on enemies and that's about it. And so just more options available, which was really cool. So we really started to see this robust set of moves for Mario developing in Mario Bros. 3. Then, if you've been following the show, or if you just followed Mario's history, you know that the next game actually wasn't on the Super Nintendo. It was on the Game Boy. And so Nintendo decided to launch the original Game Boy in all its green screen glory with our favorite plumber. And so we saw in Super Mario Land, which launched to the Game Boy, that the team was actually a completely different team than the one that had made Mario 1 and Mario 2, Mario 3. It was a new team, and they actually kind of experimented a lot with Mario's physics and with even the sizing of Mario, the sizing of enemies. And some of that was just that it was a very early Game Boy game, and I think that they just weren't really used to the hardware. That can even be seen with Mario Land 2, 6 Golden Coins, where that feels a lot more like a Mario game, and it was on the Game Boy as well. And so it just looks like they maybe needed some time to get used to the hardware and what they could do with it. But the first Mario Land game was just kind of weird. Jumps felt weird, run speed felt weird. Your fall time was like you dropped like a freaking rock whenever you went off platforms. It's this whole thing that for the first time, it didn't feel as much like I was playing a Mario game, because I didn't realize this growing up, but one of the things that feels most like Mario is that buttery sense of just like movement that Mario makes it look so easy. And I feel like it wasn't until I played a game where that didn't feel like it came as easy to the team that I started to realize, oh wow, like this is why it doesn't feel like Mario, because the systems don't feel like they work together as well. And so I loved Mario Land. It was a really fun, hour or two game, and just I think it holds up really well in some ways. But as far as Mario's movement goes, it was not my favorite. And so whenever they did move on to the Super Nintendo, this is my nostalgia, my heart coming in a little bit. I grew up playing Super Mario World every weekend at my grandma's house, and finding all the secrets with my brothers and cousins, and it was a blast. And so I grew up thinking, Mario is just he can spin jump, he can destroy blocks from below or above, he can use the cape feather to skip entire levels. And looking back at it now that I played some of the older games, it's just really cool to see that, like, man, the original Mario Bros. Set the standard for how to move in a platformer, and Mario World raised that standard to honestly just like, I know that this is going to sound very, very biased, and it is, but perfection. like when it comes down to Mario World, I really can't complain. It is Mario just feels like he should, as far as everything works the way it should. His movement feels the way it should, and it just is so fun to play as a result. I really think that it doesn't get a whole lot better than Mario World. I would just say it was the ultimate refinement of those 2D mechanics, and is a gold standard that I think a lot of platformers should look to today. From there, it's really cool to see like the Mario Land team, which was developing these Game Boy games alongside the console games. And Mario Land 1 had the first 3 games to look to, and then Mario Land 2 had Super Mario World to look to, as well as their earlier game on the Game Boy. And so Mario Land 2 kind of went the opposite direction, whereas Mario Land 1 felt really like it jerked you around and it was really just start and stop. Mario Land 2 was almost like too floaty, but in a lot of ways it felt more like Mario. And again, like I said, feeling more like Mario really, I think, means that regardless whether it's a floaty game, like for instance with the 3D games, Galaxy feels a lot more floaty than Sunshine. Sunshine is like Mario's moving at like 90 miles an hour. But with both those games, there's a sense of consistency across that game's mechanics, that within Mario World, even though it feels different than Super Mario Bros., all of Mario's mechanics within Mario World feel consistent and like they work together with one another and have this rhythm to them. And so that's what I mean by when it feels like Mario, that it feels like it's intuitive, that when Mario jumps, it feels like the height that he should jump based on the speed that he's going. And I just think that Nintendo has done a masterful job of understanding this and understanding game feel, because that's such like a, how do you do game feel? Like whenever, that's like kind of a thing that I've heard in videos recently where people are like, game feel, like what separates this platformer from this platformer, because it just feels good to play. And how do you measure that? Like, that's such a difficult thing. But I think that a lot of people can look to the original Mario games for a really good idea of how to get started with that. From the very beginning, it's like they came out of the woodwork, really just ready to go and set the world on fire, and then just continued to raise the bar from there. And so I don't think that we would always see the bar raised in Mario's world, and we can talk about that in a later video. But I think in this first season, we can see so much progress and just a lot of innovation in some cool ways. And so that's one of the things I really love about the original Mario games, and I just love talking about that, because I think that when it comes to designing things that feel good to play, I think that there needs to be this sense of consistency, and I think Nintendo does a really good job of that. So from Super Mario Bros. With its really simple, really bare bones design, to Super Mario World and 6 Golden Coins, where Mario has this robust inventory of moves to choose from. We can see this narrative playing out of be intentional with the design choices, have consistency across the moveset that really keeps things like physics in mind and keeps things like game feel in mind. And really think about the player experience, not just from your experience of what you think should happen. And again, I'm not a game developer, but this is just something that I've noticed from what is fun for me. And I've really enjoyed looking at these original Mario games and how they've been developed. And so, yeah, thanks guys for watching the video. And if this is your first time being on the channel, this is actually a side series that I'm doing. The main content of the channel is a lot more reflection based, where I go through individual games and talk through how I experienced it and maybe something that I learned and took away. I think video games are works of art that have the power to enrich our lives. And I believe that as somebody who was put on this earth for a purpose, that I want to find purpose in the things that I'm doing. And I love video games and want to find the purpose in those. And so if that's something that resonates with you, I just recommend that you go check out my channel and give it a view, give it a like, give it a subscribe, all the YouTube things. And thanks so much for coming. I really appreciate you guys coming to hang out, and stay tuned for some more episodes and some more discussions. Have a great day, guys. Bye.